headlining the headliners of the next chapter that you write. So for 20 years, Dan and I have been very good friends. We met his rookie year. His rookie year, he was drafted by the Detroit Lions 20 plus years ago, and he played for them, which is really, really fun. I was a guest speaker for the Lions chapel one night. The NFL does chapel the night before the game in the hotel that the players are staying at. And so I was a guest speaker for the chapel the night before the game, and it was very intimidating, by the way, because it's like there's 50, 60 NFL players. All the guys I watch on TV are in there, all the coaches and everything. And so afterwards, John Kitna, the starting QB for the Lions, invites me and the chaplain, Dave Wilson, up to his room for dinner. And I'm like, oh, I'm invited to John Kitna's room. I'm like feeling like I'm so cool. So we get up there, and I am so intimidated. I'm starstruck. Like, I watch this guy on Sundays. That's what I do. I listen to interviews for him. So I'm like, kind of like, oh, what do I say? You know, we're sitting there hanging out. While we're hanging out, Josh McCown and Dan Orlavsky walk into the room to hang out with us. It's like you got the two backup quarterbacks. So now I'm hanging out with the three guys that I've been watching on TV for the whole season, and it's like we're sitting there chit-chatting and stuff. And so basically, Dan and I just hit it off. We just kind of became buddies. We started hanging out. We started going to dinners. We started working out a bit. I lifted way more than him. It was amazing. We started playing some golf, and eventually we started studying the Bible together, studying God's Word. After a few years in Detroit, Dan went to the Texans, then he went to the Indianapolis Colts, then he went to the Tampa Bay Bucks, and then he actually finished up back in Detroit as a backup quarterback for Matt Stafford, who's over with the LA Rams right now. And then he goes on to become this big-time commentator on ESPN, calling Monday Night Football games. Basically, during the football season, you see Dan everywhere. He's on ESPN pretty much 7 days a week throughout the football season. And here's what I want to say before we watch this conversation that I have with Dan. Through it all, since I've met him 20 plus years ago, Dan has stayed consistent as a friend of mine. Like, I will text him in the morning when he's on the show Get Up in the morning, and I will text him during the show just commenting or saying something stupid. He will respond to me in the commercial breaks. It's hilarious. I'm like, you can wait till you're done working, you know, and he's just like, oh, I'm just sitting there. He stayed consistent as a friend. He stayed consistent as a man of God. He stayed consistent as a husband, as a father, as a leader, and he has a great story to tell. And we have the privilege of having our very own kind of cross-line interview with him, ranging from tonight's Super Bowl, which is where we start. We get like an insider's look from Dan Orlovsky of what he thinks is going to happen tonight, all the way to what it looks like to follow Jesus. So I'm excited for you to hear his story. Let's watch. Dan, it is great to have this opportunity to introduce you to Crossline. And you have a great story to tell, whether it's about football, about life, or about your journey to faith. And so I consider you a friend above all. But the world knows you as a football player, NFL quarterback, and now a well-known, highly respected ESPN commentator. So we're going to start with what's on everybody's mind. Give us the movie trailer for tonight. What's the story of these two teams getting to this point in the Super Bowl? And like, what should we be watching for?
Yeah, man. Well, it's good to be with you. Thank you for the kind words. You know, it's just to give you like the 1 minute treetop preview. This is one of the greatest turnarounds in New England in NFL history. And because a lot of people think about New England and know the 2000 to 2020 window. But what Mike Vrabel's done in 1 year is literally historical. There's two coaches in the history of the NFL that took a team that the previous year had 4 or less wins, and the next year went to the Super Bowl. He is the second coach. The only other coach is, ironically, Bill Belichick. So, you know, there's history on the line for New England. They look a lot like the early Belichick years of a couple no-name defenders, or maybe not household name defenders, but it's to do your job, do the little things, play with details, play with toughness and execution. And then they got a young star quarterback that feels like doesn't blink at any adversity that comes his way in Drake May. And then Seattle's a little bit of this organization had this extended success, and then all of a sudden moved on from Hall of Famers. Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. And it's like, wait, you guys are moving on from Hall of Famers? And in 2 years, they're back in the Super Bowl with a little bit of like a cast of cast-offs. You know, it's Sam Darnold, no one wants you. You're not good at
Yep.
football. You stink. Leonard Williams, you stink. The New York teams don't want you. Cooper Kupp, you're not good enough to play for the Rams anymore. Jackson Smith and Jigba, you were the 20th pick of the draft, not top 5. And so they're well coached, and that's how they got here. And I think the game, you're looking at two really good defenses, defenses that are old school. They hit, they run to the ball, they're well coached, they don't give up big plays. And then offenses that just have to be situationally really good. So I lean towards Seattle because they're the more
Yep.
complete team. New England's offense has not been great, but they're New England. This will be a fourth quarter final possession game. The storyline would be one of two things. They kick a field goal, meaning New England to win it late, just like
Yep.
they used to always, or Seattle does, and it breaks the traditional way that New England wins their Super Bowls.
Man, that's cool. Thanks for filling us in for tonight's game. That'll be super fun. I want to kind of go from the story of tonight's game to really getting more personal with you and just talking about your story. You've got a great story to tell. And so I'd love to start with, what is your story of getting to the NFL? And was the NFL always the dream for you when you were growing up?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I was a sport kid. Sports were my everything. I started playing sports when I was 3. I come from a broken home, so family wasn't family to me. As I got into my 10-year-old year and certainly into my teen years, my family were my teammates. And I was blessed enough to not stink at sports. And so, the opportunity to, be okay at them and play on team sports. I was always part of teams, and those became my family. And then, as I got a little bit older, football became the path. And I always had this long childlike dream of playing in the NFL. My dad would often say to me, "You're going to play on Sundays." I didn't understand what that actually meant. I was like, "My games are on Saturdays or Fridays." Like, what are you talking about? And it was a dream that I worked really hard at to get better. It felt unreachable, rightfully so, because it's so unrealistic to make it. And then the NFL became a little bit of a reality for me, probably when college recruiting starting to happen in high school. And then my freshman year, I started at UConn and just was like, I'm good enough, unless I become a lazy bum, like I'll get there somehow, some way. And, everyone always asks me, like, what would you have done? My answer has always been, I was never not going to make it. Like
Mm.
there wasn't a plan B.
Yeah, there was no plan B.
Yeah, so that was the dream. That was the goal. And when I got there, it was like wait, this is it? Like this is everything I worked for 10, 12 years. But it was amazing. I don't want to minimize it. It was amazing. That moment when you make it is just pure elation. But then, after a day or two, you're like, that's it. Like that's it.
I reached the mountain, and this is where I landed. This is it. Well, let's talk about that. You get to your rookie year, and you're with the Lions, which is, when we met that rookie year. Something happened that rookie year that changed your life, and I would love for you to just walk us through what was going on in you and how during that season you came to faith in Jesus.
Yeah. One, I grew up in a traditional church home, but didn't really pay attention to God or Jesus 98% of my time. 2% would be like, oh, thank God. But 98% I was trending towards living a very worldly life, a life that I knew, like deep in my core, I knew I didn't want, but I was heading towards fame and money and women and popularity. Like I had it because I got to the NFL. I had it. I had all that stuff. And I was still like I was talking about, like, this is it. This doesn't necessarily check the box that I thought it was going to. So, and I knew I was trending in a direction that I did not want to be a part of. And in Detroit, and then it was like a drop here and a drop here of humans. So Dave Wilson was there, who was the team chaplain. And then John Kitna came, who was a free agent quarterback and very outspoken and bold with his faith. And then Josh McCown came, who was very strong in his faith, less outspoken, more, put your arm around you type of person. Then Mike Furry came, who was a receiver for us. And Mike was like a watch him just live it out all the time, blind faith type of human. And then it was Mike, those four guys, like those four guys. And, they all were so like me, Kev, when it comes to like, I'm a psychopathic competitor. Like I have to compete in everything that I do. I got to talk trash. Like it's just who I am. So those guys all did that and competed and wanted to be the very best, but then had a loving marriage and were like good dads and liked being married and liked being a dad and talked about it differently than everyone that I had been around. It wasn't like the ball and chain or like the happy wife, happy life type of thing.
Yeah.
And there was something about it where I was like, that's the first time I've ever seen a person like that. Like that's the first time I ever felt like I'm everything like you and nothing like you.
Wow.
So I just started paying attention to them, and they would have Bible studies and they would walk around with their Bibles and they would talk about Jesus. And I was like, all right. So I started to go in Bible study with them, and John started to disciple me. I was not married at this time. I was single. And over the course of that year, they just discipled me and poured into me, and I came to Bible studies. And then on September 23rd, we were in a chapel on a Saturday night, the night before playing Green Bay. And I'm in chapel. This was, I'm fast forwarding about a year of Bible studies and whatnot. Dave Wilson, who's the chaplain's like, you know what? In the middle of the chapel, in the middle of it, he's like, something's on my heart. God's putting something on my heart right now that there's somebody in here who wants to accept Jesus. I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to give that person the opportunity. Bow your head. So I bow my head. I'm like in the bottom third row. And he's like, he goes through the power of salvation and the prayer of salvation, excuse me. And I'm like, wait, is he talking about me? Like, I don't want to lift my head and be a weirdo, but I think he's talking about me. And so I got saved that night. I rededicated my life to Jesus that night, told nobody, woke up the next morning. I have no idea how, but Kitna came up to me pregame. He's like, you accepted Jesus last night, didn't you? And I'm like, what in the world is going on right now? And so, it changed my life, changed my kids' life for sure.
Man, so like, what did you believe about God before that moment? And like, what did you believe the next day? Like what shifted there?
Before that moment, I probably thought God was like a rabbit's foot. Like, hey, things are bad, go to him. Things will get better. He'll fix it. He'll make it right.
Yeah.
Things are good. Pat yourself on the back. Like it was all you type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it went from, I don't want to say like things are bad, but like when things go, when things become challenging and adversity comes your way, you don't have to do it alone. You never have, you never will. And when things are going great, it's not just because of you or the decisions you've made, but a plan that God has for your life. All those other things that you chased that didn't fulfill you still won't. But when you chase and go after the creator that knows all the inner workings of what you need and how you're going to be fulfilled and what your heart's desiring, while it might feel odd at first and different, because it did, and at times still does, you're going to have a different level of peace that you've never felt before. My life from that night changed.
What was the first real change that people around you noticed? Like when you started realizing, man, there is something different about me. What were people noticing that they were picking up on?
Honestly, like within the day, the way I talked, I stopped cursing. I stopped talking about women the way that I was talking about women. Mike Furry, because I was a loser, I had two phones. One phone was a phone and the second phone was for being a loser. And Mike Furry took the phone and threw it out the window that I was in the car with him in Michigan. Just took it and literally threw it out the passenger window. And I remember in the moment, I was like, ah. And then after that, I was like, thank you. Like you just made me grow up. You made me stop being a little boy, Peter Pan. So I think that stuff definitely stopped living worldly. I was never a partier. It just wasn't something that was a part of my background or growing up. So that wasn't something that like was this drastic change, but I would just say like the I would certainly say the intention of my life, it was, be a star quarterback, be a star quarterback, and it went from that to being like, love Jesus, get married, have a family, love your wife and kids, build an awesome life with friends that you can share that all with, and continue to work as hard as you possibly can at football.
I love the way you described that. I want to fast forward a little bit to just like, you finish up the NFL, you get into ESPN, and you just become you've basically built a career around like talking about football now in front of the camera. And you're one of my favorite guys on ESPN. Like when I watch Get Up in the morning and you're not there, I'm like, oh, what's Dan doing? Like, come on, man, get there.
Thanks.
But I want to go to just that moment that you brought your faith really right into people's living rooms, with that Damar Hamlin thing. For those that don't know, Damar Hamlin was injured. He had a cardiac arrest on Monday Night Football. Pretty scary situation. No one knew like if he had made it or not. We were kind of in this limbo. And so all of the people on the show you were on, they were just talking, and they kept saying, hey, our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Our thoughts and prayers are with Damar. And you just come in and you didn't say that. You said, you know what? I think we need to pray right now. And you had everyone bow their heads right on ESPN, right in people's living rooms, and pray with you. And so I was like, what was going through your mind at that time? And why did you choose to do that in that moment?
What was going through my mind really for the majority of that day, because that show was at 4 p.m. It was the day after that Monday night game. So Tuesday, the majority of the day what was going through my mind was fear. Don't do this. It's not your place. You can get yourself into trouble with this. The other part of my day was remembering Dave Wilson, who was our team chaplain in Detroit, doing a Bible study on real men, and the acronym REAL, and R representing reject passivity. And it was this battle of don't do it. This is what a real man of God would do. Don't do it. This is what a real man of God would do. And leading up to the moment, I had come to the thought process of like, don't do it. Yep. All right. You're not going to do it. Yep. This is not the right thing to do because prayer is not for everybody. Jesus isn't for everybody. Like, don't do it. And in that moment, I just remember simultaneously having the just trust me, like just trust me. And right when that happened was the moment, because I didn't go into the show like dead set on doing it. I was like, I had told the people that I was on, Marcus and Laura, like, hey, I might, and they both were like, if you do it for the right reasons. We're with you type of thing. And in that moment, it was like, just trust me. And maybe this is not the right thing to do, but it's just on my heart that I want to pray for
it is
Damar Hamlin right now. I'm going to do it out loud. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to bow my head, and I'm just going to pray for him.
What kind of pushback did you get? So you do this. It was a beautiful moment. Yeah. So no pushback.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we live in a social media world, so there was moments on social media where I heard it. I think I got one text from somebody that I don't know saying, hey, I saw what you did on TV. I respect it, but prayer's not for everybody type thing. And I just respectfully said that prayer was for Damar. It wasn't for anybody else, so, but none, no. Actually, it was the opposite, Kev. I was just on with Jason Romano at Sports Spectrum, and I would tell you since that moment, the number one comment that I get from people when I see them in public or on social media, and it happens by the thousands, is, I love how much you share your faith. That cool. Since then has been like the overwhelming thing.
Man, that's awesome. Well, let's move into some family stuff. We're really big here at Crossline on helping families win. And we just believe that families win when they have Jesus at the center. And so you got 4 little ones running around, and you and Tiffany, how long you guys been married?
16 years, not so little anymore, man. The boys are 14 and my daughter's 10.
Yeah, triplet boys of 14 years old. Man, that's a lot going on in the house. But like, what does following Jesus look like for you and Tiffany from a family perspective? Like in your home, how do you guys follow Jesus and kind of live that out in front of your kids?
It's different than the traditional way, certainly, that I grew up, following Jesus or God or church was Sunday, and Monday through Saturday was like, figure it out. I think the way that we go about it and try to impress on it is it's really daily for us. And so, we have on a daily, like, and I got this right here where we have this where we sit down, try to every morning, and our kids will pull out something that has to do with a Bible verse. And, when they're feeling, dude, I'm in a bad place today. Let's pull out something that talks about anxiety, or let's talk about sadness or whatnot. And so biblically, one of the things that happens every day in our house is we have some form of church and or Christian music playing when we're home 80% of the time. And so, and our kids are walking around singing it all the time.
Yep.
We are a little constantly talking about Jesus in relation to how it affects your life. We're at the time now, Kev, where one of the great things that I was a part of in Detroit that had a tremendous impact on my life was in that discipleship process. Once a week, I would have to memorize a Bible verse and just talking about Jesus a lot, talking about God a lot, being honest about Jesus a lot and God a lot. I mean, I'm in my kitchen. There's the Bible that you probably remember that Kitna and McCown gave me. So that's literally at our kitchen island where we eat every moment.
Man, that is awesome. So let's wrap up with you speaking to the room right now. I want to just hear from you for the Christians in the room. What is just one of the lessons that you've learned, because you've been writing your story with God for a long time? What's just one of the main things that helps you stay steady in your walk with Him? Like, how would you speak to our Christians and just say, "Hey, here's one thing I've learned about writing your life story with God."
Oh man, I would tell you this.
All the difference for me.
From somebody who, and I'm trying to say this because I do have an ego, but I was fortunate enough to climb the mountaintop in two separate, relatively high-profile roles when it comes to America. I was a quarterback that got drafted into the NFL. I went to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I was on the cover of the college football video game. I was part of the NFL draft. I've played on Monday Night Football, on Sunday Night Football. I've playoff games. I threw footballs to guys who are in the Hall of Fame. I played against Hall of Famers. So don't misconstrue. I'm not Tom Brady by the least, but I was, one of 1,000 people who have been a part of the NFL for a decade long. And then I somehow stumbled into being a face on the biggest sports network in the history of the world. My biggest flex, my greatest happiness, my best achievement, my most at peace is that I have Jesus in my life. Not even close. Nothing as fulfilling. Nothing makes me feel a certain way. Nothing has gotten me through more. Nothing has been more positively impactful in my life than just accepting Jesus. Jesus wasn't dorky to me. It wasn't corny. I'm a maniac competitor. So like for the men, dude, I like being tough. I've got calluses on my hands. I believe in that. I work out every day. I'm with my friends, all that. So it's not like Jesus made me this lesser version of a man or whatnot. I would tell you greater. But I love loving my wife. I love knowing that, dude, my marriage is rock solid. We talk about Jesus all the time. My kids are loved. Like, that's so much cooler than me throwing for 360 yards against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in New England.
All right, last question. I want you to talk to people who are in here and they are like you were when you got to the NFL. They're curious about Jesus, but not convinced. They're kind of trying to figure out the spiritual part of their life. What would you say to them in this moment about beginning a relationship with Jesus?
Actually try it. Actually try giving your life to Jesus. I dare you to. And actually do it. I dare someone to actually try it for a month. Try giving up the life of the past and giving your life to Jesus for a month. And just write it down. Write down when you start, what the things that you didn't do, what you thought, what you felt, who you were, And then after a month, and when you and live with Jesus, so give your life to Jesus, give your thoughts to Jesus, give your mouth to Jesus, give your emotions to Jesus, give your heart to Jesus, give your give your daily life to Jesus. And after a month, just see if you're different.
Because we all need it. We all need it. And we know what I love about that, Dan. If somebody takes that challenge for a month, we know they'll be different.
Exactly.
There's no going back. Well, Dan, hey, thank you for your time. This is beautiful. Hey, Crossline, let's give Dan a hand for being here. And Dan, I know you're so busy, bro. Thank you for making some time for us. And man, you lifted my spirits and just what a great story. And I'm excited for the Super Bowl tonight. And just thank you for being a part of the story that we're trying to tell here at Crossline, man.
Man, it was so good to be with you. Thank you for the opportunity. You're a good man, good heart, dude, and I'm so glad that we're friends.
Heck yeah, bro. All right, Dan, I'll let you get on the road. Love you, man.
Love you too, bro. Peace.